Hello everyone. I noticed that a lot of you are enjoying my content but haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing doesn't cost a penny, it's free. If you like my content and want to support me, please just hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me and helps me keep creating content you love. Thank you for being here. Once upon a time, there was a great king who ruled a vast and prosperous kingdom. He was wise, kind, and loved adventure. One day, he decided to go hunting in the deep jungle with his soldiers. Early in the morning, the king and his soldiers rode into the jungle. The forest was alive with the sounds of birds chirping, leaves rustling, and distant roars of wild animals. The king was fascinated by the beauty of nature. As he moved deeper into the jungle, he saw two beautiful parrots sitting on a tree branch. Their feathers were green and shiny, and their eyes were bright and full of life. The king had never seen such parrots before. He immediately wanted to take them back to his palace. He turned to his soldiers and said, "Catch those parrots carefully. I want to take them with me." The soldiers set a net and quickly captured both parrots. The birds struggled and flapped their wings, but they could not escape. They chirped loudly, calling for help, but no one came. The king was pleased and ordered his men to carry the parrots safely. As they traveled back to the palace, one of the parrots refused to give up. It struggled hard, pecking at the net and flapping its wings with all its strength. It did not want to live in a cage. After many attempts, the parrot found a small hole in the net. Using all its energy, it squeezed through the hole and flew away into the sky. The king and his men watched as the parrot disappeared into the trees. The king sighed and said, "At least we have one parrot left." The king took the remaining parrot to his palace and ordered his servants to take good care of it. A golden cage was made for the parrot. It was given the best fruits and nuts to eat. At first, the parrot was scared and confused. It missed the jungle, the open sky, and its lost friend. But it had no choice. It was now trapped in the palace. Days passed, and the parrot slowly learned to speak. It repeated words taught by the royal bird keeper. Soon, it could say, "Long live the king," and "Welcome to the palace." The king was delighted. He often showed the talking parrot to his guests. People admired the bird, but no one saw the sadness in its eyes. Though the parrot lived in comfort, it was not truly happy. It longed for freedom. It wanted to fly again, to feel the wind, to live as it was meant to live. Meanwhile, the other parrot had returned to the jungle. It was free to fly wherever it wanted. It could eat fresh fruits from the trees, drink from cool rivers, and play with other birds. However, life in the jungle was not easy. There were dangers everywhere, wild animals, storms, and food shortages. But despite all these challenges, the parrot was happy. It was free. It could live on its own terms. Even though it faced struggles, it had something priceless: its freedom. The parrot often thought about its captured friend. It wondered how the other parrot was living in the palace. Was it happy? Was it safe? One day, the king had to travel to a distant part of his kingdom. On his way, he passed through the same jungle where he had caught the parrots. After a long journey, the king and his men stopped to rest under a large tree. As the king sat quietly, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Welcome to the jungle, Your Majesty." The king was shocked. He looked around but saw no one. Then he heard the voice again. "Long live the king." He looked up and saw a parrot sitting on a branch. It was the same parrot that had escaped. Amazed, the king asked, "How do you know these words?" The parrot laughed and replied, "I learned them from my friend in your palace. But I am free, and he is in a cage." The king thought for a moment and said, "You are free, but you live in the wild. There are dangers in the jungle. My parrot lives safely in the palace." The parrot smiled and said, "Yes, Your Majesty. But I can fly wherever I want. I can sing whenever I like. I can choose my own food. My friend is safe, but he is not free. He has forgotten the joy of flying." The king listened carefully. He had never thought about it this way before. The parrot continued, "Safety is important, but freedom is priceless. What is the use of a golden cage if it takes away the joy of life?" The king was silent. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of happiness. That evening, when the king returned to his palace, he went straight to the golden cage. The parrot inside the cage greeted him, "Long live the king." The king looked at the bird and said, "I have understood something important today. I will set you free." He opened the cage door. At first, the parrot hesitated. It had lived in the cage for so long that it was afraid to leave. It had forgotten how to fly. But then, as the fresh air touched its feathers, it remembered its true nature. It flapped its wings and flew out of the cage. The parrot circled above the palace, looked at the king one last time, and then soared into the sky. It flew towards the jungle, where its friend was waiting. The king watched the parrot disappear into the trees. A deep sense of peace filled his heart. He had made the right decision. My beautiful viewer, we learn 5 lessons from this story. Number 1. Freedom is priceless, safety and comfort are important, but true happiness comes from being free. A golden cage is still a cage. Number 2. Struggles make us stronger. The free parrot faced many dangers, but it also experienced the true beauty of life. Struggles shape us and help us grow. Number 3. Don't trade happiness for comfort. The caged parrot had everything it needed, but it was not truly happy. Sometimes, we choose comfort over our dreams, but real joy comes from living freely. Number 4. Life is about choices. The 2 parrots had different lives. One chose safety and the other chose freedom. In life, we must choose what matters most to us. Number 5. Letting go is true love. The king realized that true care is not about keeping someone close, but about allowing them to be happy in their own way. Final thought. Like the parrots, we all have a choice. Do we stay in our comfort zones, afraid to take risks, or do we embrace the challenges of life and truly live? The choice is ours.